Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar, Know Your Customer, Empower Your Business. So my name's Matthew Tan. I am the Practice Director of Business Solutions at Brennan IT, and I'll be taking you through the next hour and really discovering how the Microsoft stack can enable you to understand your customer better. With me is Paul Farrow from Microsoft. He's a Senior Solution Architect. Been working in the I guess delivering CRM solutions for many years now, and he'll be setting the scene in terms of the industry trends and really giving everyone here an understanding of why organisations look to implement CRM technology. I'll then take over and take you through a deep dive of the product suite, as well as how you might be able to get to Dynamics CRM, and we'll save Q&A for the end, but please don't hesitate to type the questions into the question box should anything come up along the way. If you have audio issues, there is a chat window there. Eileen has a phone number that you can call her on, and she'll be able to assist you in troubleshooting any audio issues that you might have. So without further ado, I'll let Paul kick things off.
Okay, thanks Matthew. Basically what I'm going to cover off today is I'm going to cover off essentially Microsoft's vision for customer engagement. I'm going to cover off some of the industry trends that we've seen that's led to that vision. I'll take you through, I guess, what we believe are the key sticking points for what organizations need to do to empower customers and lead customer engagement. And then we'll finish off with some case studies. So I'm not going to go deep into any of the products. I'll leave that to Matthew, but I'll just take you through Microsoft's current position, where that's come from, and how we feel we're well positioned to service organizations looking to go down the customer engagement path. I mean, because really a lot of where we've come from is our new mission, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. We're in a new Microsoft. The new Microsoft is all about enablement and empowerment. There's no longer any rigid contracts. We've now opened up the Windows platform and the Office suite to multiple devices. We're now looking at empowering organizations and empowering people. From a customer engagement perspective, we mean empowering people who engage with customers. So that's your salespeople, your customer service staff, your partners, but also empowering customers themselves to self-service. So we're really about how we can augment the way in which people engage with customers, but also how customers can take themselves on their own customer journey. And that's important as we discuss our vision as well. That vision is across key three points. The first one being building the intelligent cloud. You'll see a lot more agility in Microsoft products now. No longer is it a case of everybody walks around with a CD to install Windows. Everything's now cloud-enabled, including our customer engagement products. It's all about more personal computing. Nobody's now saying you have to be locked into a Windows device or a Windows phone. We can now enable all of our solutions across various different devices and form factors to enable that personal computing. But also it's about reinventing productivity. It's not just about how can we drive down cost. It's about how can we add value to existing processes, and from a CRM perspective, how can we get more out of those customer engagements? Because from an industry perspective, as many of you know, customer engagement is evolving and it's going through a regeneration, so to speak. As you can see probably on the left-hand side there, many of you will know internet, smart devices, social media has basically taken the world by storm. For a lot of organizations, that means customers can source products cheaper from overseas, they can source things faster, they can go anywhere and everywhere to get the products that they need. But what we're starting to find is even though price used to be a differentiator, and it's only a couple of years since basically anything from clothing to electronics could be sourced cheaper overseas in the US and shipped here via the Amazon type model. But what we're starting to find now is that price is no longer being a differentiator, and 86% of customers will actually pay more for a better customer experience. To such an extent that by 2020, we think customer experience will overtake price and product as a key brand differentiator. So let's just take stock for a second and understand what that means. What that means is that organizations who focus on the value they bring to the customer engagement rather than the lowest prices that they can offer a customer will actually get more value from that engagement over time. So if you consider somebody buying paint or consider somebody buying any sort of home improvement product, they're not just walking into a store to buy the lowest priced product. More often than not, they're walking into a store because they're building a decking or they're repainting their house. So the value that that retailer can bring to that experience in terms of, yes, I know you're looking to build a decking, let me take you through what we think the key products are, some advice on what you might want to do first, how you might go about approaching it. That adds value to the experience. Now, those products may not be cheaper, but because I'm getting more of the value out of that engagement, I'm more than happy to essentially partner with that retailer because they're offering value across that engagement rather than just sourcing a whole heap of cheap products, which, to be honest, if they're cheap, the quality may not be there, and they may not even fit together. So it's all about how we can generate value and add a customer experience, because by 2020, that will be the key thing that overtakes price as a brand differentiator. What that means from a modern customer engagement perspective is we've got various domains across sales, service, and marketing, but also what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to work across the myriad of devices and social media and email and websites to help customers, I guess, create their own journey and to really get them to see the value that they can derive from the relationship, but also make sure it's in a way that they feel as if it's personalized to them. There's no point saying, thou shalt call our contact center to get value when the customer's saying, well, hang on a minute, I actually want to be able to browse on my smart device and chat with somebody on my journey on the way home. That's how we need to start to look at modern customer engagement, is that independence of device, independence of media, and that seamless blending of marketing, sales, and service so that customers can seem to be creating their own journey with an engagement with a brand. That's how organizations will add value and generate those leading customer experiences in the future. What it also means is that companies need to look at three key areas when they're looking at modern customer engagement. Obviously, the key thing today is personalization. Everything needs to be personalized. When I receive an email or a text, it needs to be, Dear Paul, thank you for shopping with us and buying product X. We value your experience. We'd like to offer you additional credits or discounts to come back in store. We see that as value. It means people in, say, business class on a flight getting a little handwritten note saying, welcome John in seat 3B, we will be your customer service team. It's all about creating that personalized, if you like, corner shop approach where you know that when you engage with that brand, you're going to get a personal experience. But to be honest, that's almost the baseline today. Organizations in the future need to look at two other areas. It's all about being proactive. It's all about saying, yeah, Paul, I know you bought some new runners, and I know you bought some new exercise shorts. How about buying some ankle socks? How about buying a new wearable? How about buying running tops? Because we know that people who have bought those products typically also buy these products as well and get best value out of it. So starting to be proactive, starting to suggest additional ways in which customers can get value from your brand by also buying complementary products that they may well end up buying anyway. But then it's also about being predictive. It's also about understanding the customer's life cycle. It's all about saying, yeah, 6 months ago, Paul bought some running shoes, he bought some runners. We predict that after 6 months, people are either well on their way and they probably need a different pair, or they're probably looking at maybe doing a different sport. So what we'll do is we'll start introducing some content to Paul around that time to start to suggest, all right, well, these are the running clubs in your area because we know you've been doing it for 6 months. We typically find people now need to start doing more social running. Or we say, look, here are some gyms where we've got a relationship in the area. We can offer you a discount. So it's all, again, it's all about predicting where you think that customer journey may end up and using some of the things that Microsoft's doing with analytics and machine learning to start to build out where you think the customer journey might be so that the customers feels as if they're getting a personal relationship by you really understanding not just what they may want to buy, but also what they want to do, what they want to achieve. That's what modern customer engagement means. So within Microsoft, we've really been focusing hard on how we enable those sorts of things. And how we enable those sorts of things is by looking at the key areas for customer engagement, be that marketing, sales, service, and social engagement, but then looking at really how we bind those things together so that organizations have a single platform to deliver insightful engagement so that they can learn from one marketing engagement as to how to better service that customer in another channel, so they can leverage what they're seeing through social media in order to be able to use the right terminology and the right language to sell effectively. The only way in which you're going to be able to generate value from customer engagements other than price is by building a platform that enables you to understand, learn, react, and be proactive in terms of those customer engagements in the future. Now, so that's basically what Microsoft's vision is in terms of where we've seen customer engagement going in the future, what needs to happen through being personalized, proactive, and predictive in order to organizations to make that happen. But also we've got some customers who've done that and who are well on their journey to customer engagement. And these are not typically customers that are big B2B organizations that spend millions on transformation. These are actually quite some unique brands that you may or may not have heard of before that have actually started to innovate around customer engagement. And obviously, we like to eat our own dog food, so to speak, and Microsoft Stores is a good example of where we're starting to look at the purchases that all people make when they walk in the store, whether that be an Xbox, whether that be a Surface, whether that be a Windows Phone, and start to look at campaign management and Dynamics CRM to take customers on a journey that says, all right, well, you've just bought the Surface. All right, now here's some interesting ways in which you may not have thought you can use that, whether that be transcribing on the screen to take notes in OneNote, whether that be using Microsoft Edge annotation feature. We can actually start to take customers on the journey of getting value from those products. So that's just one way in which we ourselves have started to leverage the tools that we have at our disposal to create value from those customer engagements. The next one that I want to take you through is actually a bike company, a company that makes bikes, but they make custom bikes. So really what they're able to do is invite customers into their stores, and through a combination of using Dynamics and Azure and Office and even Skype for Business, they're able to generate a customer experience so that when you walk in there, you can be talking to the people that are actually going to be manufacturing your bike, discuss different options around gearing, around brakes, around tires, discuss what you're going to be able to do to help mold the product that you're ultimately going to be buying in a collaborative environment so that that customer engagement, right from the word go, is actually adding value. So even though you may be paying $1,000 more for the bike, you know that that's going to be the perfect bike for you because you've been engaging with the people who are going to be actually making that bike. So really what they're starting to do is use all of the tools at their disposal to make sure that they're getting the best value from their customer engagements. The next one close to my heart certainly, is Marston's Pubs in the UK. Basically what they've done is they've started to use our social tools to start to try and understand customers' preferences, what they like and don't like. So they invite customers to post on Facebook, to tweet about their experience in their pubs, and then what they do is they use our social engagement tools to funnel all of that information into a dashboard so that they can start to understand the different experiences in different pubs through different segments of the market. That then informs them in terms of how they might want to redesign those experiences in the future, both within those pubs, but also in an online way, so that you've got more of that in-pub but online experience, so that you get that flagship experience. You don't just get the best night out, but you get the best experience in trying to find the right pub, maybe even selecting, seeing what drinks are available, creating a virtual round so that you can just go in there and then basically order it without having to ask what everybody wants. And then you've also got the way to do all of that in one seamless fashion. The last one that I'm going to leave you with is, again, another one that's quite close to my heart. Real Madrid actually being the real football, not soccer, football. They actually use both our social, Azure, and CRM tools to really start to enrich the life of their 450 million fans. They empower all of their fans to get a great added value out of the relationship. If you can imagine, with 450 million fans, not everybody's going to be going to the match every week. But through the use of the Microsoft toolset, Real Madrid start to understand who those fans are. They can introduce offerings like live streaming of games, communities, virtual fan clubs in different areas, and start to personalize all of their marketing and create 360-degree views of all of their fans, so that basically what they're able to do is really create a solid customer engagement experience without actually having to have every single fan come to the ground every single week, which is impossible. They can actually keep those fans engaged and create that brand experience using the Microsoft tools. So basically that's just what I wanted to take you through, give you an understanding of where we've seen the market develop over time, give you an understanding of how the new Microsoft is looking at empowering customers and empowering individuals to serve customers, but also how we've started to look at Microsoft Dynamics CRM in terms of how we can enable a platform that enables our customers to start to really make those dreams a reality in terms of adding value to each and every customer engagement. And with that, I'll flip back to Matthew. Please feel free to ask me any questions. My details will also be available if you want to touch base with me after the webinar.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. Just doing a bit of a seat shuffle here. So we're going to, over the next 30 minutes, go through the deep dive of the Dynamics CRM product suite. So the way I'm going to deliver that is really across a couple of personas. One of them being Ali, a marketing manager, and later on Spencer as a sales manager. So just bear with me while I switch screens around. Just going to let that fire up in a few seconds. So really, as a marketing manager, you know, what am I concerned with, right? So the fundamental or the key KPI for any marketing team is really the return on marketing investment. So is the investment in the activities that I undertake in a marketing fashion delivering a return to the business, right? And there's many ways of measuring that. There's obviously the financial, the dollars going in and then dollars going out and dollars coming back in, but also are we getting the right engagement? And really that's not necessarily a financial metric that you can measure. Things like response rates, the quality of response rates, whether people attend events, those sorts of things are of concern to me. So looking at your screen there, we're on the dashboard. We log in. The first thing we see is the different types of campaigns we're currently running, and you know, it's broken down by type there on the left, top left. Over on the right, we can see how each, I guess, our campaign or campaigns in total are tracking against the allocated budget from an actual cost perspective. And we can see there's increasing cost quarter on quarter, which is in line with the increase in marketing investment quarter on quarter. But are we delivering the right return? So we can look down on the next chart right below it. There's the revenue generated by campaign, and we can see there's one particular campaign which is delivering most of our returns. So, you know, maybe that's an area that we want to have a look at to see if we can replicate that across the other campaigns. We can also see the number of leads being generated by the campaigns as well on the left. Going down a bit further, that's where we start to look at the engagement. So we're looking at the amounts or the total number of, I guess, engagement levels across the different mediums that we market in. So we can see social and events are the two that drive the most engagement, email being the third there. So let's go ahead and open a campaign. So we'll look at that customer loyalty campaign. As part of this campaign, you know, we can track lots of different information around it. The campaign type, you know, what lists are we using? But we can see the leads that we're generating, and you know, we can set up the budget as well beforehand, and then from there, the actual cost as we run those activities get rolled up to this level, so we can see that very, very quickly. And we can also see the campaign status. So let's go into a particular campaign activity, being an email send. So I've run an actual newsletter, electronic email or bulk email prior to this webinar. So we'll have a look at those details there. And really it's one channel. So we'll just explore this one for a second there. We can configure the ability to send from a particular address. We can schedule it out. We can obviously target multiple marketing lists as we construct it, all from a single template. If we go down the bottom here, we actually see the preview of the template itself. It's obviously very configurable. You can change the colors, the styling. If you generate your emails through a third party, you can paste the HTML in and then incorporate dynamic fields to give it that personalized effect. And that certainly helps with deliverability. There's also, you'll notice, URLs in there linked to articles that are on the website. We can track if the customer goes to the website from the email, we can then track their website behavior and what pages they visit and for how long, which can then be used to segment further. And more importantly, what's the actual engagement from this particular email, right? So, you know, we've sent out. We had quite a lot of people on the recipient list or the marketing list. We actually excluded quite a few because they either chose to unsubscribe, or they didn't have a valid email address, or they've been sent an email very recently. We don't want to spam them again. So out of all that, we've sent 88 messages, and we can see the interactions from that. So from there was a certain amount of unsubscribes, a number of bounces, and a certain number of interactions. So we can see the positive and I guess negative engagements with this particular email. If we open up the heat map, it actually shows us what links people clicked on. So over time, we can actually learn things about the types of EDMs that we send out. So things like, you know, people tend to click on links that are, you know, higher up in the email if it's a long email. Whether people open up the website through the logo at the top, or whether the people have been clicking on the unsubscribe and they scroll all the way to the bottom. So we're actually about to see the percentage of hits or clicks within a particular email, and we actually can do things with it as well. So for example, you know, for this particular event, we might be able to create a workflow. So, you know, we can set up an email and that's great. How do we then automate some action so we don't have to generate every single activity manually? So the event automation feature allows you to do that. So through this feature, you can send out an email and then automate the next action based on the response that you get. So in this case, when people register, we can then send them a follow-up email, say thanking them for registering. So here, the email goes out. When they register, we can send them a confirmation email. We add them to the registration list, and then 1 week before the actual event, we'll send them a reminder to tell them that the webinar is, or that the event is about to happen, and any details that might be pertinent to them attending that particular event, things like location. If they didn't register, we might then send them a confirmation email saying they don't want to register, or they unregistered. If they did register initially, we can remove them from the list and then add them to a nurture list, which will then, I guess, you know, send out periodic emails to really gauge level of interest and you know, track the lead score to when they're ready to engage. And if then they did attend, we might send some post-event activities. So we can very quickly automate these activities, which means that you can focus more on your strategic aspect of your marketing and you know, as opposed to the operational. From a reporting perspective, so we're running all these activities, we're going to want to know how successful we are, for example. So, or where to target the next set of marketing activities. So down the bottom here in this report or this dashboard, we can look at, I guess, sales by geographic region as one of those things. So we can click into that and drill down into it. And we can see it on the map there. There's a lot of dots there, so probably can't do much with that, but we can see that in the northern part of the United States, in this case, seems to be where the sales are clustered as opposed to the southern states. So maybe we can increase marketing activity across those states there. We can also look at it by district manager as well. So if we click on particular people, it will zoom into them and show the sales performance in their particular region. So, we can very quickly just go through and really mine the data that we have on the sales transaction data and analyze whether there might be any trends or patterns and use that to target or run the next campaign or design the next campaign. So that's one channel. We've talked about one channel, which being email marketing. What about social? So Paul talked about in the Real Madrid case, collecting vast volumes of engagement or digital engagement that's outside of that email medium. So that's typically when people think social, they think Facebook and Twitter. It's actually more than that. It's news sites, it's blog posts. YouTube, digital, video content as well. So, so this dashboard, this social engagement dashboard, gives you an insight into all these behaviours that people do on the web. So, we can track here the volumes of behaviours. So what we do is we set up search topics that we monitor on the World Wide Web, and this dashboard summarises those behaviours into. In the middle here, volume. We've got the sources of where those interactions are happening, who's having those conversations, but also whether they're good or bad. So in the top left there, we can see sentiment, and let's say we want to click on the negative sentiment, so the red. We want to focus in on that and see what negative things that people are saying about my brand. Too often these days we see negative viral campaigns where someone posts something clever about a bad experience they had, and suddenly, it's viewed by 1 billion people around the world. So how do we get ahead of that? Well, this tool allows us to monitor those negative statements, and we've got a lot of search topics set up at the moment, so it gives us a lot of data to be able to drill into it. So we've drilled down into the negative posts, and we can see that in this example here, there's a bit of conversation around Westpac, for example. So we'll just click into Westpac there. We can see the volumes. So, does this correspond, on the 6th of April, does this correspond to any particular campaign activity that we've run recently around products that we resell from Westpac? We can see the tweets that people are making, so we can drill down into that. And once we've got it down low enough, we can actually view the posts themselves. So just a warning, this is a live demonstration and I cannot predict or control what people say on the internet, so I apologise if anything offensive comes up on screen. But we can actually see the tweets, the negative tweets about Westpac that people have put up on the internet. From there we can then click on it, we can respond, we can retweet it, we can reply to the tweet, we can open it up in Twitter, but we can also create them as a contact, a person of interest that we might want to check. If they're a contact in CRM, then that will obviously record their activity against their contact record. The other thing we can do here is we can look at how we stack up against competitors. So we can set up search topics based on our competitors and to monitor, let's say, the negative or positive things that people are saying about our competitors and understand what their brand is doing on the internet as well. So we'll switch gears now over to Spencer. I'll just minimize these screens here. So Spencer is our sales manager. He is someone that has a team of people that he manages. So some of the things that Spencer is concerned about, apart from whether the team and himself are selling enough, is whether they're giving themselves the best chance to win a particular deal. A lot of the times when anyone, when I say anyone, any organisation and any person make a buying decision, they typically consult multiple sources. There's usually more than one person involved. I bought a car recently. I certainly couldn't have done that without consulting my wife. She's obviously one stakeholder that's key in the buying process, my financial advisor being the other one. So, in the business sense, there's typically 5 or 6 stakeholders that are involved in any major buying decision. So how do we then position ourselves in the best way to win a particular deal? We'll cover that shortly after. But first we're going to look at our dashboard and analyze how my team and my region and my territory is performing. So I can see in here the pipeline versus forecast by owner. I can see one of my team members, Sven, is doing reasonably well. Sanjay doesn't look like he's got, and Spencer don't look like they've got strong pipelines at the moment. Let's look at the leaderboard to see actual sales though, and we can see Molly's actually smashing it out of the park at the moment, and Sanjay is the one that isn't performing so well. So if we look at things like the close probability per rep, we can also see that Sanjay is one of the lowest performing there. So we probably want to drill into his data a little bit to see what's going on. So from that chart there, we can actually open up and view the chart with the data that makes up that chart, and we can see in here the opportunity breakdown by owner by clicking on the different coloured panels, and we can see the actual opportunities, where they're at, how much they're worth. Drill into that and see whether Sanjay is giving himself the best opportunity to win a particular deal. So we can go through all the different colours which represent different probabilities. So the one that we're interested at the moment is a new corporate opportunity with Telstra, for example. So is Sanjay giving him, positioning, our organisation in the best way to win this opportunity, to win this deal? So we'll wait till this loads up. Very quickly we can see the stage at which this opportunity is at through the business process flow bar at the top. We can see how much it's worth. It's worth $500,000. I'm expected to close in the next couple of days. So I'm already concerned as a sales manager, being 2 days left in the month, and only up to stage 2. We haven't even positioned anything yet. So that tells me that Sanjay hasn't really kept good hygiene in terms of his CRM data on this particular record, and that estimated close date might be incorrect. But we can see through there, through the qualify stage, that he's gone through qualification, he's followed all the steps, and we can see that the information he's captured, and he's currently in here, and he hasn't really identified a need and proposed a solution. We can look at the different activities that have been run against this particular opportunity. There is none, or it's not loading. We can also view the notes, so we can actually go into OneNote and view the notes that Sanjay's been recording in his OneNote from this opportunity. We can see the different stakeholders that he's influencing. And so from here we already know that for a large corporation like Telstra, having only 2 stakeholders, or engaging in only 2 stakeholders in this particular opportunity, is probably not giving ourselves the best chance or best chance to win, right? And we can see the competitors that are against this. So how do we help Sanjay, or how does Sanjay help himself potentially? So what we can do is look at this insights tool, which will it basically mines the data that's available on the World Wide Web. So similar to your social engagement tool, but a bit more specific in the context of this organisation being Telstra. We can see key news information, but more importantly, the people. So who are the people that we can contact to get us, to put ourselves in the best position? So perhaps we want to start with the C-level employees, and Andrew Penn, obviously this is a bit out of date, who's actually now the new CEO. He's obviously come up first. We can see the other C stars in this list as well. What we can do from here is actually, click on his record, and if I'm connected to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, we can view more information about him. His photos come up there. I can actually view his profile on LinkedIn, see if he's got any mutual connections, and ask for an introduction, right? So very easy. I'm doing all this within the one tool. I don't have to open up multiple tools to achieve that. I can also synchronize his record into CRM, add him onto a nurture list, and invite him to the next event that we run, and get that introduction that way as well. So there's obviously many avenues of achieving that. I can work through Telstra here at the C-star level and actually go down by function or by role. So very quickly, if we're able to get that 5 or 6 stakeholders there, and building that relationship with them, then the chances of us winning with this deal significantly increase. So that's, I guess, sales management. If we go back to the dashboard, there's one thing I wanted to highlight before I jump into I guess another dashboard which gives us even more insights, and that's really looking at the forecast. So here we can see sales performance over time, and then moving forward, I guess what this enables us to do is to model the trends of sales over time. So it helps us with being able to forecast what's going to happen in the future. So if we hop over to the dashboard, this dashboard really mines all that data that we collect in CRM around the opportunities, the engagement that we're having. It even includes the marketing data. So from a sales perspective, I want to do things. I want to understand things like who's driving the most revenue, what's our lead conversion rate, how does that perform against industry, what's our win ratio, average deal size. So we can very quickly see all these things in real time, but we can also filter down the data as well. So I can either use Cortana if I've got that enabled, or I can type in here. So I might want to say show estimated revenue, and so that shows me all the estimated revenue of my team. I want to say by customer because I want to plan a trip. I want to visit some customers. I'll actually call that accounts because that's the right terminology. I want to make sure I'm visiting the right customers, and so I'll rank them by revenue, but maybe I also want to see them on a map too. So sorry, I'll type on a map. That makes more sense, and we can see where they're clustered. So if I go into here, we can see Evansville here in the US has 2 customers which have, I guess, significant opportunities against them. So maybe my next business trip is to go out and meet these customers. If I like this chart and I want to reuse it again, I can simply pin that and just add it to the dashboard, so I don't have to run that same query again. And we can scroll down and actually see it. But once it loads, it will be up on the screen there. We can see the top opportunities as well, so that might drive my decision making as to who I visit. So that's a very quick overview of the capabilities of the Microsoft CRM platform, and really the next 5 minutes I'm just going to talk about the how. So there's a lot of capability that I've covered off today and we've discussed, but really is how do my organisation get access to this? How do we get there? Right? Everyone's got a different situation that they're in, whether they've already got Dynamics CRM, whether they're using a competing product, or whether you're working off spreadsheets and you want to start this journey. Everyone's got a different entry point. So the next 3 scenarios I go through sort of give you an idea of how you might get started. So the first thing is you're not currently using a CRM system at all. So people that use Excel probably would fall into this category, or you manage your contacts entirely out of Outlook, for example. So we've got a quick start offering which really takes the base product It dumbs it down a bit. The product itself has a lot of features, as most people that use Microsoft products know, and so the Brennan Quick Start is really a process where we get you up and running really quickly with Dynamics CRM. We train your staff, we import your data. So for this webinar in particular, we're offering 23% off the standard package to help you along the way there. If that's something of interest to you, then please reach out after this event, and we can certainly have a discussion about whether this is suitable and how we might actually do this in a bit more detail. If you're currently using Dynamics CRM, maybe you're on an older version, maybe you've it's heavily customized, maybe it's reached the end of life support, maybe you've looked at upgrading and it's too expensive to upgrade, and you want some advice. So anyone that's in that situation, we would typically run a health check. So that way we go in there, we have an in-depth discussion with you around really what your vision is, how that might align, how your current technology might or might not align with that, and really what are the next steps. And we can provide some recommendations out of that as to how you proceed to really access this technology and potentially put in some governance around, I guess, preventing the situation where you might get into where you can't upgrade because of certain customizations that have been made. So for anyone that's on this webinar, we are offering a 40% discount off the price of the health check, and it's typically a 2 to 3 day engagement, depending on I guess the level of in-depthness we want to go to. And for those that are using another tool and looking to maybe explore the possibility of Dynamics CRM, maybe you've got Office 365 and really Dynamics, the integration with Office 365 appeals to you, and you want to explore or look at using Dynamics CRM, or you're using a tool that doesn't meet your needs anymore, doesn't scale with your business, then the diagnostic engagement through Brennan is likely to be the avenue that you would undertake. And this is where we go in and really understand your business at a really in-depth level. We document all those requirements and we play them back to you like a menu, so you can understand which capabilities and how much it's going to cost, how we're going to implement it, whether it's through configuration, whether it's just out of the box, or whether we need to customize. Each of those items will have a cost associated to you, so you can make an informed decision about how you might want to prioritize or deliver it, and whether we can be clever with how we implement over a period of time. Can we phase this out, so that phase it over multiple phases, so that we can make sure we're delivering the right amount of value at every step of the way. And we'll work with you in putting that together and coming up with that sort of long-term plan. For this webinar, anyone that undertakes a diagnostic engagement and then engages Brennan to do the implementation, if there is implementation after, we will basically discount the cost of that diagnostic off the implementation. So think of it as I guess a low-risk option. So if you do choose to implement, and you're going to implement anyway, then the diagnostic is really a low-risk option for you to undertake.